Hello, Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
For all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels.
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Leicester Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Right, Chris.
All right there. All right, the back. How the devil are you all? Welcome along. It's sloppy seconds time. I've got sloppy seconds every night. No wonder I've got backache. I tell you, it is absolutely killing me back today. Absolutely killing me. Well, what a weekend in football. Yet another manager, that's 8 of them this season, have lost their jobs. Thing is that I reckon they're better off, actually, because they probably get more in compensation than they do in wages. I mean, you know, Mourinho must be like a multi-millionaire just on his compensation. Thank you for watching. This is Leicester Till I Die TV. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a subscribe and smash those likes. And if you're catching up on podcast, on Google, Apple, iTunes or Spotify, thanks very much for listening in. This is where you can find it.
Watch us on YouTube. Listen on your favourite podcast platform or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
And I've got a guest coming on tonight. Now, it's not often that you can actually say that a guest doesn't need any introduction. But I really, I don't have to say any. I've just got to play this. Good evening, Maisey. How the devil are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? You've literally got tears in my eyes.
Well, yeah, we're only 3 minutes into the show. You'll need oxygen by the end of it.
Probably so.
Oh, I love that laugh. I'll tell you. Welcome along. At least neither of us are suffering with the old ring of fire as Dan is this morning, who took his hot chip challenge. Do check it out and do give the channel a sub. Turf Moorhouse TV. He was in pain, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he done such extremely well because he left him like leaving with no like trying to sort out like his like putting milk in his mouth and stuff like that. So he done it for 5 whole minutes, and I don't know how he coped. But honestly, he done extremely well, and to do it on the camera, you've got to give nothing but praise to Dan. He's honestly an amazing person, an amazing YouTuber as well, and going onto his channel, watching him, supporting him, it's been an absolute pleasure to do in this past year of knowing Dan.
It has. You're quite right. I mean, you know, I like to say he's my brother from another mother. He probably would prefer to say that I'm his dad because of the age difference. But yeah, give the guy some support. We may not have him for long because if he goes down, if he get relegated, we may not see him for 12 months.
I see him in the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup. Do I?
Oh, that's true. That's true. Or Johnson Paint Trophy. Does he get into that one now?
Papa John's.
Yes, that's the one. What was so fun? Dan knows me. He knows that when I sort of josh with him, but at the end when he was saying, it was like an Oscar speech because he was trying to say thank you to everybody that supported me and liked and subbed to me, but he was absolutely in tears at the same time as he was saying it.
He honestly was, wasn't he? But I honestly couldn't believe how well he done. And as soon as I seen the chip, I was like, oh my God, is this like another flashback for me after I burnt that garlic bread?
I think your garlic bread would have been medium rare compared to that chip, I'll tell you. What?
I must be honest, it wasn't as burnt as that, to be honest, because it didn't even look burnt at all. It still looked edible.
God, don't ever have us round for dinner, okay? That's all I'll say.
I don't cook at all.
No, good. You were not allowed. But no, I mean, I suffer from heartburn, so there's no way I could do it. But yeah, total respect to Dan. Total respect. He's been suffering all day today, apparently. But you're with us, Maisey. You're another great YouTuber, do fantastic content. You're Man United fan, but apart from that, we like you. You're not, but you do non Man United stuff, and you're a great supporter of the women's game. We all know you have your double underscores, but how can people find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, which is Devils United. Just as Chris said, I do Manchester United content, but I do it for the men's and the women's football. I do also have a weekly transfer show on there as well, just to discuss all the recent updates in the transfer window so far. I'm looking at probably broadening it out a little bit more when it comes to the new season ahead, because it's a bit too far in for me now. So just going to broaden it out a bit later on. And also on Twitter, you can find me at 2 underscores MUFC Maze. Don't make Chris's mistake and use the 1. It's the 2.
Why use 2 when 1 will do? That's what I've always. My motto in life.
It comes in pairs. 2's better than 1.
You may want to rephrase that. So that's it. The link is in the description below to Maisey's channel. Do go and give it a subscribe. It is a great channel. She's got some amazing stuff on there. Big news of the weekend, obviously. Let's just get the details up. It happened to be after the first match. There was literally some corkers in there, really, wasn't there? I mean, did anybody see Norwich doing that? Because I certainly didn't.
You know what? I actually expected that to be a draw, that 3-0 to Norwich. But fair play to Dean Smith, because I actually think he came in to, people set him to failure coming in at Norwich, and he's actually had a couple of wins already. So fair play to Dean Smith. Got him out of relegation. If he's going to keep him out of relegation, that's a different story. But they're out at the moment, and they're doing a good job. And Josh Sargent, what a good goals he made.
My God, yes. That put me back out if I tried that. But what? I don't know who was whether it was meant or whatever, but I tell you what, he's going to dine off that for years, isn't he?
Of course he will. He'll be like, I got that smashing goal in the Premier League. You know what? That could even still be potential to be a goal of the season. Yeah, definitely. Depending on how there is some goals go ahead in the season, like the remainder of the season. There is a couple what stand out for me at the moment, but this one, what came across on Friday, was definitely a standout. And apart from that, there was standouts in other ways with that game, such as the draw. It was the blackout. The electricity went off, didn't it?
It did. And to be honest with you, you just could have carried on playing that, just the brightness off of Norwich's kit. I mean, that's the only embarrassing thing, that when he plays that game back, he's got to say, yeah, we did play in that kit. I mean, there's been some awful third kits out there. I mean, I remember your zebra one from last season, but that is absolutely
I've seen worse. I've seen worse than that
Yes.
fur kit of ours, to be fairly honest. I've actually got that fur kit in my wardrobe.
Right, that's being clipped. I think you should wear it, definitely. But,
I'll wear it next time I do a stream with you.
I'll hold you to that. Southampton, everybody's written them off, but they've held Man City to 2-2 draws this season. Newcastle as well. I mean, we'll come on to the games, obviously, individually in more detail. But talking to Dan, I am worried. I mean, Burnley, I know they've got games in hand, but let's face it, we'd all soon have the points on the table. And they're just getting cut adrift at the bottom.
Yeah. You do feel sorry for Burnley because a lot of the games were postponed. The first one was obviously because of the weather, not their fault. COVID cases, and I think this shouldn't be allowed in terms of the Premier League. They shouldn't have all these games postponed because look at the squad. What Burnley have, their squad isn't in depth compared to a Manchester United, compared to a Manchester City, a Chelsea. And if they had all their 4 or 5 games in hand, how would they seriously cope? If they had them all at once, so if they had 3 games in 1, 2 games another week, I don't think they'd physically cope.
Yes, yeah, I think it is totally unfair because by the time we get to play our couple of games, we've got Fofana back now, which we didn't have.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's an old cliche, but it's almost like having a new signing join you. But, Ralph Hussenthal of Southampton, he made a very good point that the team should be made to play those games with the players that were available or not available through illness at that time. So if you've got players who are out with COVID, then, they're now free. They should be able to play in the game. But it's if we play somebody, we wouldn't be able to play Fofana because he wasn't available at the time. And I think that's a very good point, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be an extremely fair point. You can't. It's just obviously when a player gets registered, you can't use that player until they're registered. So if they wasn't registered to play on that game when it was when it was meant to be happening, then they shouldn't use it. And I think that's an extremely good point, to be honest.
No, I do. I totally agree. Because you've got players coming back. You've got new players as well. Hi, Scott. How are you? Welcome along, sir. So let's get into the first game, which I've forgotten was on, to be honest with you. But it was the aforementioned Norwich 3, Watford 0. And of course, this has led to this. Claudio Ranieri, you're fired. Got to be the worst kept secret in the world, hasn't it?
Yeah. You know what? I really do feel sorry for Ranieri because the manager he's such a professional manager. He's well respected in the Premier League, well respected by many football clubs. And you know what? This is such a poor signing from Watford with the track record they have in terms of signing managers. It's kind of like they're trying to sabotage his legacy in a way by getting rid of him like this, and it's completely disgusting. He has got the highest one of the highest win rates in the Premier League for a Chelsea manager. I was under a Chelsea manager. He played 199 Premier League games for Chelsea. He done the impossible at Leicester, won them the Premier League, got them into the Champions League, got them far in the Champions League, and then you look at things like this, like bringing him for Watford, and then doing something like this. I just think it's completely out of order. They could have at least done something like it was a mutual agreement if they wanted to get rid of him, or just waited till the end of the season, because no matter what manager they're gonna get, right, they're not gonna stay up. Because you look at teams who are in the bottom, who are in the relegation zone. It's very rare if they're in the relegation zone in December. They're not. It's very rare they'll come out of it by the end of the season. Yeah,
I love Ranieri. Don't get me wrong. I mean, what he did with our team was amazing. I think he built on what Pearson had left, but then would Pearson have won it? Probably not. And if he came in here now, I'd be on my knees kissing his feet. But he isn't feet. All right. He wasn't he's not a sort of manager to get you out of trouble. what I want to know is, and Watford, I was watching Sky earlier, and it is that they react rather than, wait for us to go down and then sack them. I mean, last season, or last time they were up, they got Nigel Pearson in. He actually got them out of the bottom three. I think there was 2 games to go or something, and they sacked him. You just don't.
They've just got that track record, Watford.
Yeah.
They're never satisfied. And this is what they should do. Just bring in managers who haven't got that name, who haven't had that experience. Because it doesn't matter if they've got plenty of experience like Ranieri, or they've only been managing for one day. They're still going to get sacked regardless. And whoever wants to come to Watford, good on them, because they're going to get a pay one of them checks by the end of a couple of months anyway, won't we? So.
And to me, Ranieri, he's got, like you say, it's ruining his legacy. But then why is he taking on these jobs? He isn't. Some managers cannot manage, lower place clubs. Would Pep be able to get, Oldham up to the Premier League and winning it?
Not a chance.
Ollie, Ollie, he couldn't do it at Cardiff, but he did okay I know Man United weren't happy with him, but if he'd done what he did at United at, say, Leicester or something, would have been happy. And Ranieri, the season before, he hadn't got Fulham out of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So who at Watford board looked at that and thought, do you know what? We'll get Ranieri in.
From what I was hearing in terms of Ranieri, he's supposed to be close with the owner of Watford or someone in the board of Watford. And I think it was just more like, oh, you're a friend here. Can you do me out as a favour? I haven't found anyone kind of thing. And I think that's what the blood boiled down to in terms of Ranieri. And I do agree with your point. There's some managers who are able to build a team up amazingly, but can't take them to the next step forward. There's some managers who can come into a very good built team and then can take them to the next step forward.
Yeah.
And that is like the likes of Pep Guardiola's, and that is the likes of and then I would argue that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the type who would build a team rather than take a team the next step forward. And with Ranieri, I think he's kind of in the middle of both for me. I think he did build Leicester up to a degree, but I think he was able to take that team to the next step forward. But I do look at Ranieri, and I think looking at his philosophy, his style of play, what teams would suit that now?
This is the fact, this is very true. Managers that were good 4 or 5 seasons ago, football changes, football evolves. And, Alex Ferguson would not get away these days, probably with the hairdryer treatment, like he used to. It worked for him. And, I've total respect for him at Man United. What he did was nothing short of amazing. But could he manage these days with that attitude? Mourinho, he in the way he came as the special one and he was winning titles. What was the last thing he won? You sacked him. Spurs sacked him. He's on about Roma might be sacking him. It's managers had to honestly think have a sell-by date. And Ranieri, surely he's got enough money to retire. Go and be a director of football or something somewhere.
It'd be good actually for him to be a director. I think it'd be good maybe to go to Leicester and work with the board, perhaps, and do something from there. Like a bit like a Ragnick at the moment. He's going into like a consultancy role at Manchester United at the end of the season. Maybe that could be a good idea for Ranieri to try and take something like that with Leicester, because I'm sure Leicester would take him up with open arms after what he's done at Leicester City.
It is, as I say, my worry is that you only remembered, you quite often you remembered more for your bad decisions than you are for your good decisions, But totally true what you said, because he took over a Leicester side that we were down and we were dead and buried. Nobody had been at the bottom of the Premier League as long as us and survived. And we just had that miracle run, and he just, got onto the car as it was driving, and he tweaked it a little bit here and there, added his Italian magic. But apparently with Watford, and I don't know how people go in and manage like this, but at Watford, it is a coach, so you don't have any say on the players.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's somebody decides, right, these are the players you're having, this is who we're buying, you do it. But I really want Watford to get relegated. because I'm maybe being selfish here, but you were 12th when you sacked the guy before. Munoz. Munoz. You were 12th when you sacked him in October. How's that worked out for you, Watford?
Well, that is just down to them, and I strongly disagree with a lot with even Norwich of the way they sacked their managers as well.
Yeah,
I know with Daniel Farke, maybe it was his time to go, but it was the way they sacked him in that manner in terms of sacking him after the first win of the season. I know they brought in a much better appointment, but you look at Watford, they do it on quite a regular basis, and I think they should need to put something in place like you can't sack so many managers or in the space of so long, and you do something in the lines of that. Just I don't know, because it's not fair on a lot of these managers, if you want me to be honest.
No, it's not. The Farke managers like that probably didn't get the backing from the club that they deserved. They come up, and we know you've got to invest, and it's a very thin line between investing the right amount of money and not overspending and going bust, and going back down again. But you've got to support your manager to a certain degree. West Brom did it. They sacked the manager and put Sam Allardyce in charge within the first 3 games or something. It's just totally ridiculous. And you've got a manager in there that's worked with these players, has brought them up, and you get another manager coming in that has a different style of play. So he's getting all these people to play different ways, and now there's another manager going to come in, who's going to have a different style of play totally.
I think though Watford's. If you look at Watford's team, it's kind of mismatched because I feel like there's a lot more strikers, a lot more attackers, and there's just hardly any defenders and midfielders. It's like you've got like 7 strikers, 7 attackers on the pitch because they need to fit them all on.
Yeah. Yes. Niall just turned up. Sorry, guys, I'm late. Well, as long as you got a note, that's okay. Scott says, I wonder if Ranieri got an 8 million payoff after being released. I don't know. And now says, hello, Maisey.
Hello.
He's on a quiz tomorrow night. I've got a new quiz. He's taking on Brad. You got to give Brad he's a trier. He really is. He very rarely wins, but he loves taking part. God loves a trier, as they say. So this was the first game. But if we just have a look at sort of who's gone this season. So the first one was October, and that was Munoz from Watford.
Yes.
Bruce kind of saw that coming. I don't think that was any surprise, was it?
Not at all. I'm surprised he didn't get sacked sooner, if you want me to be honest.
Yeah, I know. And I think the owner's just got a big tick off the fans just by sacking him, That was October. I can't believe it. Bloody hell. Santos at Tottenham. Start of November, but again, he was the wrong manager. He was something like 7th or 8th choice. It was again never going to last, was it?
No, not at all. When you do look at Spurs, they had loads of different managers who was lined up.
Yeah.
But one of the managers who's lined up, they've got now. And you know what? It went sour extremely quickly. Nuno won manager of the month in August.
Yes.
Got sacked after. I think it was after defeat from Manchester United. That's when he got sacked, and I'm sure that was around October, November.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I think sometimes you say, why do these managers take the jobs? But it is the fact they know they're going to get paid off if they fail. But they always say these days that football is a corporate business and it's run by businessmen. Well, it can't be, because if they ran their businesses like they ran the football clubs, they'd be bankrupt, We had Farke and Smith go within a day of each other, and then obviously we know Smith ended back up at Norwich. Where's Farke? Has Farke gone to Sheffield United now or something?
I'm sure he has, yeah. He's gone to Sheffield. Yeah.
Like that. And then, and this, to be honest with you, I was in tears. When this happened, I was in tears. November the 21st, 2021. It will be a black day in Manchester United's history because you sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And, he was at the wheel for so long. and then you've now got somebody else at the wheel. He's doing pretty much the same. He's just on a different side of the road. It's
a lot of United fans are delusional. That's all I can say, Chris. But you know what? I'm one of them. I'll always back my manager unless there's a certain reason why I couldn't back the manager any longer. And I think a lot of people disrespected Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They tried to ruin his club player legend of him, and the death threats he had, it was disgusting, absolutely disgusting, and things like that. It made me feel absolutely ashamed to be a Manchester United supporter by the way they carried on. And then once he got sacked, everybody was upset. I'm gonna hold my hands up here. Even after the Villarreal loss in the Europa League final, I said, right, we still improved it. We still got to a final, which we haven't done before. We've got to second place. We've got these signings now. It can only improve. And I think having more egos at the club, I think that definitely was the downfall of Ole. And I think what really done it for me, it was the Leicester City loss, actually, the 4-2. And I said, I can't keep doing this. We've lost Aston Villa at home. We've lost to Everton. Well, we drew to Everton, what felt like a loss. The only convincing game we had under Ole this season was at Leeds, the first game of the season. And then since then, we lost 5-0 to our arch rivals in the league. We lost to Watford, which was disgusting. We lost to Manchester City. And you can't accept these kind of results. As much as I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you just really couldn't accept them results, and you knew that his time was up. But it's just it's the principle to say, okay, Ole, it didn't work. Thank you for your time at Manchester United. Never seen these kind of threats from Jose Mourinho. Never seen these threats of Louis van Gaal. Never seen these threats from David Moyes. So is it because people think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is soft?
It's funny because it's like with Claudio, like I say, kiss his feet if he walked in now, but he had to go when we sacked him. You know, he'd taken us right down to, I think we were 17th at the end of the day, and we could have easily been in the Champions League and got relegated. You know, as it happened, we ended up being the worst ever defenders of the Premier League. I think we finished 12th. But to me, again, I think the owners need to start taking some blame because they make the appointments. You know, you had Ole, who, as an example, was on caretaker role. You took him on, and he was coming in as a caretaker. But then before he'd finished his caretaker stint, you'd given him the job.
That was the same with the contract extension. We gave him the contract extension whilst he still had a year. I keep saying this, and I will say this: no matter what manager we will get, nothing is going to change when we've got the same board and we have got the same owners. You need to look at it as a bit like a pyramid. If you want to look at the bottom half to get that replaced, fine. But you need to sort the top half of it. And if the top half is remaining the same, that's just going to flow down to the bottom half of the table, the bottom half of that pyramid as well. So nothing will change unless there's a whole new rebuild at Manchester United. And that's how it's got to this point. And you got people who was celebrating the Glazers for Ole getting sacked, people making Ole out protests. Why are you asking for Ole out protests? We should be wanting the Glazers out.
Yes, yeah. It's such a funny season. I mean, we do the prediction league. You know, you've been on it with us, and you know, Brad's a miles ahead. And then this week he didn't get any points at all. It's just a funny season all round, and I think it's really hard to because on paper it's an easy game. You know, we do the predictions. Yeah, you know, Man City will beat Southampton easily, sort of thing. And it isn't. Anybody can beat anybody in this league this season. But Benitez went in January, and as I say, we just said, Claudio Ranieri has just gone 8. I don't know whether there'll be any more or not. It will be interesting.
Too cool.
well, yeah, you're thinking Chelsea. I mean, you know, Leicester fans booed off the team after the Brighton game. You don't know who's, you know, it's silly. And I actually said this on the show earlier. I'm actually turning into like a mini Arsenal fan because I am coming off these. I know. Kill
At least we
myself.
know that's one manager who's not going to get sacked. Arteta. He's
Yeah,
been there
well,
too
exactly.
long.
Yes, exactly. But I am moaning, but you'd have success, and you only think you want more for the club because of what Alex Ferguson brought you. If you don't have the success, you don't have the expectations. We as a club have got these expectations because we've finished twice 2 years and been in Europe for 2 consecutive years, and a few years ago we won the Premier League. But there's other clubs coming good. You're there or there about Southampton, Spurs are, Arsenal are. So it's a weird season, and I don't think we've seen the end of the sackings at all. To
You
be
need
honest
to
with
look
you,
at it as well. Like as a club, you look at all these clubs who are succeeding. It's the clubs who are run by like oil money, Saudi Arabian money, blah 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 blah.
yeah.
Does this mean it has to get to the point where your club has to be run by that kind of investment? You can't have a owner like with owners what's been in back in the 70s, 80s, 90s for a club to succeed. You need a billionaire to take over your club to actually succeed in the Premier League now and to succeed in football.
I think you do, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at, say, Leicester, we've got rich owners, but when they're not up there with Man City, Newcastle. But Oldham and Newport and Rochdale and clubs like that will look at us and go, yeah, we wish we had the money Leicester had. But, it's all kind of relative, if you like. I mean, you've got so much debt that you never had before the Glazers took you over,
Never, no.
And, whatever you say about Newcastle, and I know they were glad to see the back of Mike Ashley, but he didn't have them in debt, and there's a lot to be said for that. Ask Derby about, being in debt and what it can do to you. But it's just, and I know our fans are going to go mad because we're not making any signings in this transfer window. But the fact of the matter is, and we have to accept it, like you say, we haven't got rich oil-based owners. Our owners have made their money from duty-free shops at airports, which, to be honest with you, haven't been open for like 18 months. So they're not going to make the money. So what do? Do you risk it and take a loan out and try and buy somebody? And then you're in that spiral like Leeds were years ago, where you're just spending to try and, tread water, if you like, But anyway, moving on. We've put the world to rights now, Maisey. You and me should run the FA.
We're doing a good job, I'm sure.
Yeah, we were. We'll sort them out. Scott says, "I'm happy as we're not buying this window. Give the youngsters an opportunity." To be honest with you, it was funny. We played in the FA Cup, and none of those matches got called off because you were allowed to play youth players and under 23s, exactly. And they put in a lot more bloody effort than Perez did. Ugh.
I must be honest, though, that a lot of clubs, certain clubs are taking the COVID postponements as a bit of a joke by actually using their actual injuries instead of COVID injuries to postpone a game, which is absolutely disgusting. Use your youth players. Doesn't matter if they're good, they're crap, they're average. You use your youth players because you shouldn't have this game postponed because it's not weather related, it's not COVID related, it's not anything in the circumstances. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before coronavirus, if you had 9 injuries, you would still have to play that pitch and you would play it with your youngsters. Look at Leeds this season. They haven't had a game postponed because of their injuries. Look how many injuries they had. How many injuries they got this season? They've probably had a squad full and a bench full of injuries this season if they added every single injury up one by one.
I agree totally, and I've got to be careful here because obviously we are a team that did ask for a couple of games to be called off, but
COVID related.
Yes,
that's fine though. If it's COVID related, it's different. But when it's literal injuries,
I think, and when you get a team like Arsenal that want it called off for COVID, and then because we haven't got any midfielders, and then they go and let one go to France or whatever it is, that's a bit dodgy, isn't it?
midfielders were out because of COVID. Their midfielders are out due to injuries, due to low knees, and due to red cards.
Yes.
Not because of COVID related.
Well, it suddenly became COVID related, didn't it? But I mean, for me, the FA at the start should have just said, okay, guys, oh, not the Premier League, sorry, not the FA. The Premier League should have said, okay, guys, we're going to give you an extra 5 players that you can pick from your players that you've got signed to the club. So when we played Watford in the FA Cup, it was our first game of the season, of January, sorry, and we won 4-1. Now, I know it was Watford and what have you, but we ended up that game with 6 youth players on.
Exactly.
And we still outplayed another Premiership team. So anyway, that would have been it. But this was the game that ended Rafa's reign at Everton. What were you think? What was your thoughts about Rafa going to Everton?
You know what? I think it was an absolutely silly move to make, and knowing that he is a Liverpool fan through and through, it's almost like, did you come to Everton to tarnish that club? Because look at them. They're near enough at relegation. Their best players are actually players that Rafa signed, Townsend and Damari Gray. They've actually been arguably Everton's best players, because I actually look at the squad at Everton's. I think this is the worst Everton squad I have seen in years. It's an absolute disgrace of a club. And if Burnley win all their games in hand, they are in massive trouble.
Yeah. They are. But do you not think, I mean, when Everton signed Benitez, I actually thought it was a good decision, because, they've had, they've bought a lot of good players over the years, and they've tried a couple of big name managers. Koeman was not Koeman. Ancelotti couldn't wait to leave, could he? But I just think, again, Benitez has had his time. He's come to the end now. Bugger off and retire and let somebody else. I mean, look at the other end of the scale, which is the team they played there and the team that beat them 1-0. Steven Gerrard. Now, we can joke that, all right, he's not had any managerial experience and he's only been in Scotland, and, you or me could manage Rangers, at the moment to win it. But he's played under some top managers. He's obviously learned it. And whether he has had that experience, and he has surprised me. He has come down and he's taken Villa by the scruff of the throat. He's been backed with some amazing signings. Coutinho. I mean, what a signing that was. I can never say the name. Digny, is it from Everton? Yeah, and they got El Ghazi in return. My God, we know who got the better end of that deal. But Villa are everything that Everton aren't.
I think, you know what? I hate being nice about Steven Gerrard. I hate it. But Steven Gerrard, I know you're saying like anyone can manage Rangers, but you need to look at it in this way. He won Rangers their first league in over a decade ago. Yeah. He still managed to do that. He had some quality players there at Rangers, of Kamara, Morelos. He kept him in the Europa League all the way up to, it was the quarterfinals, I believe, the quarters of the semis last season. So he done pretty decent, to be honest, Steven Gerrard, and he done an invincible season. So you look at stuff like that and you think, that is not what a lot of managers can really do. Even the top managers, like a Pep Guardiola, can't do an invincible season in the Premier League. So you've got to take your hats off to him in that kind of respect. So coming to Aston Villa, I think, yes, he's done the smarter move compared to a Frank Lampard of a couple of seasons ago, moving from a Derby to a Chelsea, because I think that step was a bit too far.
I love that accent. Derby. Derby. That's Derby for anybody that isn't from the north of the country.
You look at, obviously, Frank Lampard, and I think his step was a bit too far, but I think Steven Gerrard is actually doing a smart move by going to Aston Villa, because, yes, it isn't like a Liverpool, and if he wants to go to a Liverpool, he's got that experience in the Premier League, and he's building his legacy up in the Premier League. And I think a lot of players are going to Aston Villa based because they want to play with Steven Gerrard because of the player, the midfielder he has been in the Premier League, and he's arguably, I'm.
Go on, say it. Hang on 1 second. 1 second. Let me just do this. Right, say it now. Say it now. Then I can clip it.
He is arguably a good midfielder.
Come on. Who are we talking about, Maisey?
Oh, I thought we was talking about Iwobi then. Doesn't matter.
I thought we were talking about Fred.
Fred has still got the same amount of goals and assists as Jack Grealish this season.
So you are saying that basically Steven Gerrard wasn't a bad player, which is fine.
Pretty much. And I think a lot of people will want to come to play with Steven Gerrard, and he's doing such a good job. He's taken, in a way, Rangers style of play instead of that attacking kind of play. Bringing in, he's still using a bit of the youth play, and as well as that, bringing in some new signings who are experienced. Coutinho for one, experience in the Premier League. People say he's got a good legacy at Liverpool, just as Steven Gerrard does. Indigna, people say brilliant left back, and he's rumoured as well to get Gomez from Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I'd say it's all because of Steven Gerrard being there, because of the kind of player he was 10 years ago in the Premier League, because people look at him and think, right, this is one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. That's not a true fact, though. But people would argue about that he is one of the greatest midfielders ever, and people would argue he's probably the greatest ever captain for Liverpool too. Yeah, he wants Suarez too, but the thing is, where will Suarez fit if he's got Ollie Watkins and Danny Ings? And that is something what you do need to look at, because if that's the case, which one's getting dropped?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm a little bit jealous. I would have liked, because Coutinho was linked with us for virtually the past 4 windows because of the Rodgers link, because Rodgers obviously took him to Liverpool. But I've got to say, at the end of the day, you know, I don't want the club to go bust, and we're talking wages and what have you. And all power to Villa. I don't know whether they'll do it this season or not. I mean, they're actually still only down in I've lost them. Where in 11th place, just behind Leicester, to be honest with you, on the same points. You know, they've won, lost, drawn, won, but I think he's building a firm foundation there. And I think the only thing for me is Villa have got to worry that if and when Liverpool come knocking for him.
Yeah, I think it will be a matter of time. It probably will. I'd say give it 3 years. It probably will go to Liverpool. And I think it's always also dependent on Klopp, because people think that Klopp might be leaving by the end of next season.
Yeah. Yeah. Who do you think would be a good fit for Everton? I mean, you know, there's always the same old names bandied about, isn't there? You know,
a lot of people want Wayne Rooney at Everton. I don't know. I don't know whether Wayne Rooney will go just based on the circumstances of Derby, but I think knowing that he is considered one of the great players of Everton, despite him having a better legacy at Man United.
You had to get that in. You had to get that in.
Of course I did. But he's still considered as one of their kind of legends as well, in a way. So, and he still has passion for the club. He still loves the club. And I think he probably, knowing that Wayne Rooney has also done the impossible at Derby, because look, what is he, 9 points from saving Derby from relegation? And you look at that, how many managers could do that these days?
No, he's still, and he supported them with his own money at times, and you know, he all joking aside about him, but all credit to him for that. And maybe it's too soon. You know, we've seen the Solskjaer to Man United, the Lampards to Chelsea. Maybe it's just a little bit too soon for him, and maybe he wants to be the manager that follows the manager that follows Benitez.
Maybe.
You
But I
know,
don't think Everton is as big jump as a Chelsea or a Man United, though, to be
No.
honest.
no, they're not. But you're taking over a sliding ship there. And yes, he has done well at Derby, but he'd been there a little while. He hadn't gone into Derby, you know, in that sort of situation. He'd inherited it. But I mean, you know, you look at Everton and, like you say, you know, lost, drawn, lost. They're not, as you said, you know, 19 points. They're only 3 points above Norwich, and they've got games in hand. But like we always say, they've got to win them, and that's the thing. Brentford Wolves. I mean, Brentford lost 4 in a row now. I like Brentford. I don't want them to get Ericsson because we're hoping we might get him, but it looks like he's going to Brentford. And Wolves and Large, they're again, I thought they'd struggle without Nuno, but they're not. They're doing well. And that was pretty much as the result as I expected. But I do hope Brentford stay up.
Yeah, I do like Brentford, minus the salty comments that Thomas Frank said about Sancho. To be honest, I actually do like Brentford as a football club, and this is a kind of football club I love to see in the Premier League.
Yes.
Who hasn't been in the Premier League and works in the Premier League, because you look at them in the Championship, they was made for the Premier League several seasons ago, but they just couldn't get there. They needed that one final push, which I actually think Ivan Toney done for them. You look at them, I actually think that Brentford, they get sniffed out more by the lower league of the table, because you look at it, their performance is much poorer when they played the Burnley, they played Norwich, they've lost against Wolves when they won against Wolves at the start of the season. You look at things like that, and I think, is it injuries what's played up? Because there's been David Raya, their first choice goalkeeper, out, and they've had several other injuries. Or is it just simply the fact that teams are already sniffing out Brentford? Because I actually do believe it is the lower league of the table that's sniffing out Brentford, but the likes of the Chelseas, the Liverpools are not sniffing them out as quickly as the smaller teams.
Indeed, but I would love somebody like Everton to go down and Brentford to stay up.
Yeah, same.
And not because it's Everton, if it's Newcastle, or you know, I just like the bigger clubs to go down and feel what it's like, and the bigger clubs to come up and stay up. You know, like Sheffield United and what have you. You know, now as I say, Brentford have shocked me this season. I love the ground because of the crowd are right on you. It reminds me of Tynecastle, the home of Hearts in Scotland. You get goosebumps.
To be honest, I wasn't exactly surprised about Brentford, because watching Brentford for the past couple of years in the Championship myself, I actually thought they would be made for the Premier League, and especially if they have two yo-yo clubs, for instance, who come through, of a Norwich and a Watford who always do and come back down. They've got only a third chance. They've got 2/3 of a chance of staying up. So they've obviously took their advantages, which they have. They've made brilliant signings in the summer transfer window, what really helped. One of them, I can't remember his name, but he's from Nigeria, one of them. And they've still kept a lot of the good players there at Brentford, and they've just improved the squad. So that's what you need to do, and that's what Leeds done last season. They made so many signings, improved the squad, and then they stayed up. But they've obviously not done as good this season. But I think they haven't done as bad enough to get relegated. We'll obviously touch on Leeds a little bit later, but this is what you need to do in the Premier League when you're newly promoted. You need to strengthen your squad massively. You need to get squad depth, because you know you're going to pick up injuries, because the Premier League isn't like the Championship. Yes, it's less intense in terms of the amount of games you're playing. You're not playing that twice a week. You're not playing as frequently, but it's more intense because you're playing the big dogs here. You're playing teams who have got 25 men who are always fully fit, or you've got 25 men who's worth 50 million each. Do you get what I mean? You've got that kind of intensity in the Premier League. Ones who are playing in Europe as well. Ones who are winners of FA Cups, Carabao Cups, you name it. Ones with big histories. And this is why it's always so difficult to be staying in the Premier League when you've got teams like Brentford in there. And when you see that, I think it's brilliant. Yeah, a Congo. That's it.
I'm just going to say, Niall, I mean, obviously, I think that was Mr. Google that helped you with that, because I just hope that you have your football knowledge working. Because coming up next, we have the Big Fat Football Quiz 2, the return. And this is going ahead tomorrow at 7. Like I say, Brad is taking on Niall there. Man United taking on Leicester. So we know what way that's going to go. And it's a little bit different. You know me, I like to do sort of different kind of quizzes. So here we go. Now versus Brad tomorrow at 7 o'clock. We've got 4. Yes, I can see Maisey's face there. We've got 4 categories of 5 questions each. We've got Who Are You? We've got Peep Show. We've got Snog, Marry, Avoid. And we've got 69. Now, which is a good one to end on, I always think. So that is what you've got to look forward to tomorrow, Niall.
Why have you got stuff Marry, Avoid?
It'll all make sense tomorrow, but I don't want to ruin the surprise.
Is one of them including like the likes of like Mason Mount in there or something?
Well, as I'm talking, as the quiz is with 2 men, I don't know whether maybe if you come on, Maisey. I mean, you're like me. I don't like taking part, I must admit. But
oh, I'm not a fan of it. I prefer hosting it.
Yes. Now says can't wait for this. Yeah. What? Snog, Marry, and Avoid or 69? Not sure what you mean there, Niall.
Niall's question is Snog, Marry, Avoid, Chris, Brad, Brendan Rodgers.
Now. We'll move quickly on. The aforementioned Leeds. Again, Leeds had a couple of good wins. Had moved away from the relegation zone. I think they will be safe. Newcastle managed to hold on to a lead for once. Something Leicester can't do. But I still think Newcastle might go down.
I do as well, to be honest. Like, you look at the signings they got. Yes, they've got 2 signings. Is 2 signings near enough the right amount to rebuild Newcastle? And the answer, just as Chris has said, no. They need a whole new team to be in the Premier League. They've lost far too many points now. I don't think it is any fault of Eddie Howe, because I think he's just gone into an impossible job, and he was another one, just like Nuno, who wasn't the first choice because everyone knew that Newcastle wanted Emery. So he's coming to this job. He's coming to a very impossible job, knowing that this team of Newcastle, I'd actually consider him as uncoachable. That's how I would consider Newcastle. They're quite an uncoachable team. To get a win and a clean sheet, I'd say, you know what? Fair play to Newcastle and Leeds. Buckle your ideas up, because I'll tell you something. Bielsa will be the next manager to leave. Not to get sacked, he'll be walking.
Yes, yeah. I don't think they would sack him, like you say, but I do think that he could walk. I mean, you're looking at that bottom 3, and had Leeds won it yesterday, or whenever it was Saturday, I think that would have been them safe, to be honest with you. They've been on 25, they'd be in mid-table. I mean, Burnley, they have got a couple of games in hand, but you just can't see them winning them, can you? That's the problem. And I don't know, Newcastle. I say with Leicester that we would not have achieved what we achieved if we hadn't gone down to League One for a season. Because as painful as it was, because we'd never been down, we'd always never been down lower than the top 2 tiers, and we went down to League 3. Ollie took us down, and he wasn't a bad manager, because he went on to take Blackpool up to the Premier League after us. So it was just a case of whoever was manager there could not have kept Leicester up. It had just been years and years of stagnation. But going down, Pearson came in, he kicked all the deadwood out. He got a couple, got most of his players were on loan, because then if we did go up, we weren't stuck with players that weren't good enough. And I think that could be Newcastle's saving grace.
I agree. I think what Newcastle need to do, they need to look at the top half of the table for loanees. They need to look at the bottom half of the table. So if I was Newcastle, I just what they've done with Burnley, weaken the opposition, that the players around the teams around
Yeah.
them. You look at, for instance, I would say like even get another Burnley player, a Tarkowski or Ben Mee. That would be another player I'd personally get for Newcastle. Loney, they want Jesse Lingard, even though we don't want to loan him because he's out of a contract in the summer. Even loan Donny, or you look at Manchester City. They've got a couple of youngsters they'd be happy to loan in. They probably want to loan in Cole Palmer for one. Liverpool, doubt they'll probably want to loan anyone out just because of the squad depth, but they could still look at the players what they're not really using. Maybe they could probably potentially loan out Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones could be a really good shout for Newcastle as well, because I think with a couple of game time under his belt, he could be a potentially very good midfielder for years to come in the Premier League too.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this earlier. Niall did say, avoid Rodgers and Marion Snog Laura Woods. I think we need to say that to that. And Scott says here, question. For me, so before I come on to that, Scott, I don't know. And we had Chris Woods at Leicester, and he was a good player for us. Unfortunately, he just fell down behind Nugent and Vardy, and he was third in line. And of course we had Ujoa as well. He did. I think he actually scored our first goal back in the Premier League. But I don't know whether it's such a good signing for Newcastle or just the fact that they have weakened one of their main rivals so much.
A part of me thinks it's smart, and the reason why it is smart is they are weakening Burnley down. I don't think though that Chris Wood is a long-term investment. I think it's an investment that they want now, and I think they'll probably want him till I'd say maybe for next year to just try and make sure they're safe in the Premier League. Apart from that, I couldn't see why they wanted Chris Wood, to be fairly honest. If you look at it though, maybe he was probably one of the only only striker who has remained fit all season in the Premier League, so his injury record is very good. Or maybe at the fact that they probably looked for about 6 strikers and they couldn't get anyone like Vlahovic. They wanted him and they couldn't get him.
And I suppose with Newcastle, Newcastle could literally, and it's scary, but they can afford to do that. They can sign players for 2 or 3 years and then get rid of them if they want to, pay them off, and it's just pocket change for them. But what Scott said here, Maisey, is if Newcastle stay up and Leeds go down, could you see Bielsa going to Newcastle?
No. Bielsa would not go to Newcastle. I really can't see it, to be honest. I don't think he would want to go to a club like leave a club like Leeds who's fighting relegation. Well, near enough fighting relegation to go to a club to fight relegation. I don't think that's Bielsa's style. I just don't think he'll want to do that. And I think if he does, he'll probably want to go to another championship club or maybe even abroad to rebuild the team all over again, because we all know Bielsa can do that. Yeah.
And then we have the most controversial game of the weekend. Manchester VAR 1, West Ham United 0.
I don't believe VAR in this one. I really don't. Let's talk about Liverpool for VAR, actually.
It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I was watching some... Do you remember? You're probably too young to remember, but I was watching on YouTube earlier, and don't worry, it's not rude. But there was a shot, and you had a goalkeeper, Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a shot from just inside the halfway line that went over his head that he grabbed when it was over the line and pulled it out, and the linesman didn't give it. He said it didn't cross the line. Now, we had that then, and it wasn't just United. That was just an example that I've seen. And we get these VAR decisions, and are we not just going to accept now that some will go our way, some won't?
I think that is the case at the end of the day. I really do think that VAR has been very poorly used in the Premier League. You look at a lot of VAR decisions in the league, and it's just kind of like, are they doing it to benefit certain clubs, or are they just doing it because they're absolutely useless? Because you look at teams in Germany, you look at Bundesliga, La Liga, Serie A. Do you see these kind of controversial decisions in these kind of leagues? No, you don't. And that makes me even believe, people who use VAR, do they not know how to be a video assistant referee?
No, I don't think they do. I actually mentioned this to Julian, the ex-Leicester player that I have on, and my idea for VAR is, I don't think you should have referees doing it. I think you should have ex-players doing it.
That'd be a good idea. It'd be a
Because
really
you're
good
not,
idea.
yeah, you get all your well-known players when they've stopped football. If they're not going into management, they're going to become a pundit for somebody. There's so many channels now, they'll all become a pundit. But when you go down to sort of championship and further down level, those players may get a newspaper deal, with the local South Shields Gazette or something, but they're not going to have the opportunities that the Prem stars do. And like Julian said, he would love to do that. But what they can do as players is, and I suggested this after we got caught out once, where, yes, it touched the Leicester player's hand, so it was a penalty, but the opposition player was actually pushing him down.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the foul, not the handball. Yes, it was a handball, but that should have been given. And, you had Ian Wright and Alan Shearer, both obviously ex-players, saying that exact same thing. And I just think if you've got ex-players in there that can look at a game, look at the decision and go, yeah, that's happened because of that. So no, I'm not giving it, something like that. And how many of these referees have actually played the game?
No. I actually think there was a couple of controversial ones this week, obviously for the Sunday games, but I do genuinely believe that they don't know what they're doing.
No.
They really don't.
No.
Do you want me to touch on this decision anyway, with the onside decision and to why I think it was onside?
We're talking Man United. I mean, it was a good win for you because obviously West Ham were up there for you. So, whichever side won was it was going to be good for them. You're up into fourth again now. You are inconsistent though, aren't you?
We're very inconsistent, if you want me to be honest, and we need.
No, I want you to lie to me. Tell me lots of lies.
We need, to be honest, I'm glad we're in fourth considering where we was by the time we lost Watford, and I suppose this is what people say, you need to hit rock bottom before you can actually start building back up again, and I think that was probably what the case was. We need to look at these kind of games against West Ham and improve upon that. We can't afford to lose these silly points anymore. Like, we've lost the points against Wolves already and Newcastle. We can't afford to lose any further points because look at the gap between us and Chelsea right now.
Yeah.
And look at the points with us, Arsenal, Spurs. It's very little, and West Ham.
That said, though, you're 9 points off Chelsea, and you've got 2 games in hand. But like you say, we've said so many times, you've got to win these games, And I think Man United having a disappointing season. I think that they should have been doing better with the squad of players that they had. And I did say at the start of the season that if you don't win something this season, Solskjaer will be gone. He didn't obviously last that long, but I'm disappointed. I thought it would be I thought everybody was just playing for fifth, to be honest with you. And
if you want me to be honest, we should have been like competing for the league with the squad we've got, and we wasn't. With the squad we've got, if you was obviously Leicester, you won the squad. How much did your squad cost when you won the league? It cost peanuts compared to the likes of Manchester City, the likes of Liverpool, Newcastle, on us. And you look at that and we think you have bought Varane, considered one of the best centre backs in the world. You bought Ronaldo, considered one of the best players in the world. You bought Sancho, who's got the 5th highest goals and assists in Europe. So you look at things like that and you think, how are we not further than what we are? Why are we not got a close gap between us and Manchester City? How have we not won these games against Wolves, against Everton, against Aston Villa? You do look at these kind of games and you feel nothing but disappointment.
Do you think I may have asked you this before on a show, was Ronaldo not wanted by Solskjaer, but it was a case of if you didn't get him, he was going to go to Man City, and that was never going to happen?
I think that was potentially. Maybe he wasn't the list of Manchester United, but I think it was more like Fergie said, "Oh, like you're not coming to Manchester City. How could you do this?
Yeah.
Would you want to ruin your Manchester United legacy just so you can win 2 Premier League trophies? No."
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the way it was, and I think what it was more at the fact that Ronaldo said to Juventus, "I ain't staying here." Look at it in reality. Minus Manchester City, what club actually wanted Cristiano Ronaldo? There was no club who was actually coming out and saying, "I want to buy Cristiano Ronaldo with the amount we bought him for." And with the best player in the world like that, you should expect at least 5 clubs wanting to snatch him up.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got Burnley next, which should be 3 points for you. But you are at Burnley, but I mean it's only up the road for you, isn't it? You know. Take care, Scott. Thanks a lot, mate.
Say hi from here. Say hi, Burnley. How are you?
Exactly. Hey, I remember it. Remember, I was there many years. And then this was the shock, wasn't it? Really, Southampton, man. I mean, they actually have the audacity to go ahead, but well done, Southampton.
Southampton was robbed. They was absolutely robbed. 2 goals disallowed in the first half. 2 goals disallowed. Them 2 goals shouldn't have been disallowed. What was it? Favoritising Manchester City so you can win in the league? No. Southampton played extremely well. And you know what? Hats off to Southampton. Getting 2 draws, getting a draw for Man City, who are current champions, getting a draw against Man United start of the season. Fair play. And they actually put a good performance on against Chelsea, and they was extremely unlucky to come out with no points on that game. So you know what? Fair play to Southampton, because I think a lot of people underestimated them because they've lost so many signings. They lost Vestergaard to Hughes, which you probably hate right now.
They can have him back.
Harry Maguire or Vestergaard?
Who would I sooner have?
Yeah.
Oh God, Maguire, hands down.
Do you want to buy him back then?
We'll swap you for Vestergaard.
No thanks.
We'll give you 20 million for him. I mean, you don't. I mean, for us, Maguire was a fantastic defender. You know, he got into the England squad. The grass isn't always greener, unfortunately. Ask Danny Drinkwater that. So it doesn't always work out. And he had that huge tank, but he did have. I think after his first season, he did actually have a good season for you.
He did, but he went to a poor season, very poor season. And
yes,
I think it's got to the point where he's disrespected the club. And as a Leicester fan, if your captain went and threw the armband on the floor the way Harry Maguire done that to Manchester as a Manchester United fan, if your captain done that, how would you feel like disrespecting the armband like that? You wouldn't like it, would you? Really?
I think the manager, I would hate it. I would not be impressed as a fan, but I think the manager should then strip him of the captaincy.
He should have been stripped after that Greece incident. That's when he should have been stripped, because you can't have a captain who's got all this going on in the limelight. And look at before he came to Manchester United, what captaincy material did he really have? He wasn't a captain for Leicester. He wasn't ever the captain for England. So where did he get his captaincy from? Oh, and another thing that annoyed me about Harry Maguire, when he went like... He was telling us to shut up.
Right, let me just show you this. Right, this is my Leicester City 2022 calendar, and I've got to look at this for 31 days. Right, Look who's on it. And look what he's doing. That in fairness is his celebration. Jamie Vardy does it all the time to the opposing fans. I mean, don't do it to your own fans. I agree. That's just thinking he's bigger than he is. But I mean, he wanted the captaincy at Man United. Do you have a defender as a captain? I don't. It's no. I mean, you got to look as well as the team that he's come into, or the last couple of seasons, has been struggling, and there's been a lot of turmoil, a lot of upheaval. So it has made it difficult. But yeah, I mean, as long as you didn't want 80 million for him, I would have him back.
Well, here's a deal. Maguire for Tielemans.
No. How about, I tell you what, we'll give you a 2 for 1. How about Maguire? Because you obviously need defenders. So Maguire for Bertrand and Vestergaard.
No.
Please.
Maguire for Fofana and 50 million.
Apparently, I mean, it's ridiculous. Fofana, he's not been with us. He's been with us one full season almost, and he's been injured since the start of this season. And Madrid or Barcelona are after him. It's ridiculous. It really is. Tielemans, you might get Tielemans. I mean, the thing with Tielemans is, it's been 12 months here. Let's wake up and smell the coffee. He isn't going to sign a new contract. Mm-hmm. He's not. So it is a case of we're going to get the most we can. We're not going to let him go this January. And he wants to go and he wants to play for a club that's in the Champions League. And he plays for the number one club in the number one international team in the world in Belgium.
Yep.
And, he's going to wait till the end of the season, because if he was to sign for Man United now, and let's say Man United finish 7th, which isn't out the realms of possibility, but he's then signed for a club that's not in the Champions League, So I think he will wait until the end of the season, and then he will go to a club that's in the Champions League, whether that's in this country, or he could go to Spain or Italy. So he's going to go in the summer. I know we'll get, the BBC said, we will go for 40 to 50 million. Bollocks, Willie. We paid 40 million for him. We're not going to sell him for 40 million. He's another one up there with Maguire at 80 million, And if you're going to pay us that, you've got the advantage that he's only got a year left on his contract, but, he's going to go, but it won't be until the summer when he sees who wants him and where those players that want him actually are.
Same with Paul Pogba, though. Same with Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
He's not signing a contract deal, and if he really wanted to, he would have.
No. This has got to be the most boring game of the weekend, so I don't think we'll hang on this too often. But, of course, it was a 0-0 Arsenal-Burnley. Arsenal packed behind the ball. They got the point, which they probably needed. Arsenal couldn't. And a 0-0, and we're back to the Arteta out screams, aren't we?
Yeah. Arteta at the wheel. Arteta's getting us top 4. Arteta in. Arteta's going to keep us in the Champions League. Oh, no. No midfielders. We haven't won in 2022. Arteta out! that basically sums it up. That reminds me, and sorry, if you go onto YouTube, there's a Jeff Stelling rant about when Leicester won the Premier League. You're like, and he was to say, like, Leicester will be top at Christmas, won't be top at Christmas, but they weren't. It was just like that, and that literally sums Arsenal fans up. But I don't think there's anything we can say about that game. It was a bore fest, and I think we should probably just move on. Sorry, Arsenal and Burnley fans, but crucial for Burnley. That's all I'll say.
It is. Now, Crystal Palace 1, Liverpool 3.
You know what? I actually think Crystal Palace actually had a decent first half. They did actually take the chances. I'm disgusted with how VAR was with the Liverpool penalty. It was not a penalty. Jota was doing a Mo Salah. Worse than Mo Salah, if you want me to be fairly honest, because he wasn't touched. Well, he was touched, but he could have moved but he decided, oh, I'll collide into the goalkeeper instead and I'll dive. This is not how football should be. You know what? It should be Jota who should be getting a yellow, red card. I like Jota as a football player. I really do like Jota. But that is not the way to go about it. It's really not. And as if I was Jota, I would have felt absolutely disgusted in that.
I come back, you see, with this VAR, is that a ref on VAR is telling his buddy, who's in the same club as him, in the ref's club, you got it wrong there. They don't necessarily want to, where Aka keeps saying these ex-players, they look at these things and they would just see them. They say, yeah, that was a dive, that wasn't a penalty. And yes, he maybe caught him, but he got the ball first. And the other thing as well to me is you should be allowed to retrospectively give yellow cards. There's too much diving in football these days. And this is going to pee the Leicester fans off, but Jamie Vardy, doesn't shy away from the odd dive now and again, or he goes down rather easily, shall we say that? But I think whilst you're looking at the decision, is it or isn't it? And see, this is it with VAR. That it's just a case of you were looking for a clear and obvious mistake, right? No. You look at it and you're making a decision on the goal, on a penalty, on an offside. You're not saying whether there's a mistake. You are looking at that decision. And was that decision right or was that decision wrong? It's
and they
not
take too long. They take too long.
They do. These lines that they put in, and I've seen Liverpool fans on TikTok and what have you, and they're saying, "Oh, the camera was in this position, so you got to look at the diagonal circumference of the referee's posterior or whatever." It's just too much, and I'm all for, like I say, literally looking at the game again the day after and saying that was an obvious dive. He fooled the referee there. Give him a yellow card, even though the match is over, because that would soon cut it out.
It would. There's a lot of players who do dive, and there definitely does need to be steps going forward. But I'd even say this the same about my club. Refs are too scared to book certain players. And I agree. That is something that I agree with Cristiano Ronaldo. They're too scared to book him because it's Cristiano Ronaldo. And I think that is the same in terms of certain players. It's like, oh, because they're a bit of a big name, I don't want to book him. That shouldn't be the case. Like, you don't hardly see any bookings for, like, Son, who dives a lot. You hardly see Mo Salah get booked for when he gets dived. But you see players who get booked for whinging.
Yes. It's just, like I say, I just think they should just train. Like I say, I know I've said it, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but just train a load of ex-players, make them refs, and makes the other ones VAR refs, because they've played the game, they understand it, and they can see what's going on. I tell you what, they can probably tell the bloody time as well. Where was that referee from AFCON when we needed him against Spurs, eh? That's what I want to know. Niall says in Scotland you get fined and charged if cameras pick up diving and cheating. They should. Palace unlucky, and I think they're doing all right this season. Vieira's totally proved me wrong this season. I don't think he'll be doing well. We're not going to stay on this game too long, are we?
I mean, I wonder why, Christopher.
I did an opposition review because I had somebody went on to the YouTube channel and saying that Brighton absolutely tonked us, which they didn't if you look at the stats. And you can tonk away all you want, but unless you put the ball in the back of the net, it doesn't count. And we did, you didn't, but you deserve the draw. You deserve to get it. But I must admit, that was the longest. I mean, they got their equaliser in the 82nd minute. That was the longest 12 minutes. And then a bit of added time on as well of my life after the Spurs game. I was just praying. I mean, Leicester players, they're not allowed to have dogs, you know, because they can't hold on to a lead.
That is such a granddad joke.
I've got fans. I've got fans. I mean, Niall, I'm sorry, Danny Welbeck. I want to smash him in the face, and only because he always scores against us. Whatever club he's at, whether it was Arsenal, Man United, Brighton, he always likes a goal against Leicester. That's the only reason I want to do the same with Kane, because he's got more goals against us than anybody else. To be honest with you, sorry.
So does Rudiger.
No. But I mean, I look at that, and I mean, pluses for us. Daka is still scoring goals. I mean, he's going to be Vardy's replacement unless somebody comes in and wants to buy him. James Justin's come back, and he's seems to played 45 minutes against Spurs, 90 against Brighton, and that's, as I say, it's like a new signing. Very cliche, I know, but it is. He's brilliant. So those are the pluses for Leicester. And I'm going to say credit to Brighton. I'm not getting onto this Graham Potter. Danny Potter? Who's that? Graham Potter bandwagon that, should be the next England manager. He should be Man United manager or whatever. He's not won anything in this country yet. Yes, he won something in Sweden or wherever it was. I don't know how good that league is. But he's having a good season. He kept them up last season. They've not, I don't think, apart from 1 week, been out the top 10. And I think this is the problem with a lot of Leicester fans. Like I say, we're kind of turning into mini Arsenal fans, is the fact that, well, we should be beating them. That's Brighton, But Brighton have got a better away record than anybody else in the Premier League. They've got a better away record than Man City. So actually, a point probably isn't bad, but it didn't really do either of us any good at all.
No, not at all. And you know what? I do think Graham Potter is good, but he is definitely overrated to the point where people think he's the best manager in the league, where they think he should be a Man United manager, blah, 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 blah. Because, yes, he's good, but I just think he is extremely overrated. And
yeah,
I think what he's done at Brighton is a very good job, and I think he suits the Brighton job. And I do question, would he suit any other Premier League club? You look at managers who's gone from a lower table team to a top table team, and it doesn't always work. So why do people think it's going to work for Graham Potter? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But they're doing well, Brighton, and good luck to them. Like I said, I like to see those sort of teams up there. The last game now of the season, you're probably saying, thank God, the season. What am I saying? Of the weekend. And that was, Chelsea and Tottenham. Conte just doesn't like playing Chelsea, does he?
No, he doesn't. I was actually looking at the stats for Stamford Bridge for Chelsea versus Tottenham since 1992. And Tottenham have only won one game at Stamford Bridge.
Really? Wow.
One. And the rest, I think it was a couple of draws and the rest Chelsea won. So Chelsea clearly dominant in this kind of derby.
Yeah.
But I think this is another controversial VAR result in this one with the Harry Kane situation, because he actually scored a goal. Thiago Silva, who actually scored in the second half, I would say he dived, because they were saying that he got shoved. He got tapped by Harry Kane, but he gone down. And I actually think it was a tap, and I don't believe that it should have been ruled out. And the commentators of Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher said the exact same thing, that this goal should have stood because he got tapped. He did not get shoved, and Thiago Silva was extremely lucky that the goal stayed disallowed.
But the thing is, and again, I go back again to my my ex-players as referees and all that sort of thing. If you touch a player, that gives the player the opportunity to go down. Now you can, and I'm going to say, I'm going to give all credit now to Harry Kane. And you do not know how much this hurts me. But when we played the midweek, and it was 0-0 in the first half, he could have gone down so easily. He was caught. He stumbled, but he carried on staying up so that he could get a shot in. And I looked at it and I thought, do you know what? Fair dues, Harry, because a lot of people would have fallen down then. So you've got to look at these things and go, yeah, okay, so he touched him, but was it a foul? Because you can touch somebody without it being a foul. And like I always say, ITV4, they are showing replays of the big match from the 70s and 80s when men played the game, not these pretty fairies that we've got. You know, I mean, the women's football is less bloody hairy fairy than the men's. I tell
Agreed.
you, you know.
Agreed. You know what? You don't even hardly see any yellow cards. Don't hardly see any red cards. In a matter of fact, in the women's game, and when you see a foul, they get straight back up. There's only a couple of teams who dive, and apart from that, it's pretty decent, the game to watch, and it flows.
I just, for some reason, not enjoying looking at women's football this season. I don't know why. But, good evening, Miss Melina, and my two favourite people are on the panel. Bless you.
Melina.
Bless you. I hope you are well, Melina. I hope you are staying safe and that both you and your dad are health-wise on the way up. Niall says, Chris, I hope Nippon was in the correct stand this time. Who knows with Nippon? You know, he's I don't know if he ever actually gets to a football match, or does he just go spend the afternoon going from one tube to another?
Did you actually watch Richie's quiz? Nippon was in the actual Tottenham ground. He bought a ticket at half time.
No, did he?
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh, only Nippon.
No.
Only Nippon. God. I mean, I have watched many Leicester matches in the away end when I was living in Burnley and Blackburn, because it was the only way you could get a ticket at that time. But I sort of had to I went, yep, if we scored, and that was it. Niall says here, Graham Potter is a good early shout for manager of the year.
Disagree. I really disagree. I think my manager of the year, it has to be David Moyes.
Do you know what? I was actually going to say, if he keeps him up, I've got to go for Dean Smith.
That's a good shout as well.
David Moyes is an excellent shout. You know, he went to West Ham. He didn't do very well there. Well, he kept them up, and they didn't keep him on. Then when he came back, they didn't want him, the fans, and he did it last year, and I thought, bloody hell, you know, they're going to be back down the bottom this season. They weren't. They're still up there at the top. They're doing well in Europe. But what pees me off totally is we know Pep will get it.
Of course, because he wins the league or Klopp gets it.
Yeah.
And that isn't not fair at all, because you need to look at what the manager has done for the overall season. You need to look at the impact he's made in the Premier League that season as well for the team, because you look at the Pep Guardiola, he would have made that impact, the same impact, if he was there 2 seasons ago or if he came here now. David Moyes has done something what we haven't seen of West Ham. I don't remember the last time I've seen West Ham in Europe. They finished top of the table in Europe as well.
I mean, they will admit that they had a very easy group. And I will admit, we finished top of our group last season. It was a very easy group. When we were in the Champions League, we couldn't have picked a better group, you know, but you've still got to win the games, you know, and all credit to what David Moyes has done on, let's probably say in the top 6, the smallest squad.
Yes.
You know, if Antonio gets injured, God knows who they would do to cover for him. But
they'd be playing Bowen as a false 9, or they'd be playing like Lanzini or something as a false 9.
So I say Moyes is an excellent shout. I just think I say Dean Smith if he keeps them up, because you know I think saving Norwich should almost be like bringing the dead back to life, wouldn't it? And I mean, let's have a look at the table. I mean, this is the top half, and I did say the other day, to be honest with you, that I couldn't see Manchester throwing it away, and then they go and draw against Southampton. But I still think it's Man City's to lose. Would you agree?
You can't exactly rule off the Premier League, especially when it's halfway through the season. They've played 23 games. There's only been 20 plus games what's been played. You can't call someone to win the league already. You can say someone's their favourites because look, Liverpool can still catch to them. Even Chelsea could probably still catch to them. I wouldn't say anyone below Chelsea could catch up to Manchester City, to be honest.
And where do you think? I mean, I said this the other day. Sorry, first of all, I said this the other day after the Spurs game, and I wasn't in the best of moods, as I'm sure you can understand. But I said, hang on a second, we've only played 19 games. That's half the season.
Exactly.
We've still got half the season to go. So Europe for us isn't out the possibility. You don't, like I say, and nobody's on the same number of games. That's the other thing as well. But I think the top three there is nailed on in one order or another, though. I've got to be honest with you. And like I said, I did think the top four was nailed on with Man United. Can you get that fourth place?
Well, we've got to be optimistic, and if we do perform well, we've got every chance of doing that. And I hate relying on other teams to downfall, but you've got to rely on, in these kind of situations, you need to rely on downfall of Tottenham, Arsenal, when they've obviously got games in hand there as well. Even look at Wolves, even they've got a shot at top four.
Yeah, and I think the thing you've got in your favour is the fact that, again, as inconsistent as you are, teams around you are equally inconsistent.
That's very, very true. I'd say the most consistent one out of them all. You just probably say even Wolves are probably more consistent than us right now.
Yes. You know, I mean, we're sat there in 10th. The only good thing is that I think 7th would get you into the Conference League, which I've got to be honest with you. And I know as Man United fans, as Arsenal fans and Spurs, you look down your nose at the conference and what have you. But for a club like Leicester, I'll take the conference every time.
Arsenal shouldn't be so picky because they haven't even been in Europe this season. They can afford to play their best players every single week in, week out.
Yeah. Niall says here, someone will drop points and go into free fall. It will open up a big gap. At least we know it can't be Leicester this season. That is one good thing. We know we're not going to bottle it, and as people are saying, on the top four. But to me, like I say, this is more interesting. And I just think every time you look at this, every week or so, you can't predict which three are going to go down, can you?
No, you really can't predict what three would go down, to be honest. Because you look at from Brentford to Burnley, there's only literally 11 points between 11 points. And that equals to 4 wins. And that's equal to how many games in hand Burnley has. 4. They've got 4.
Yeah.
So if they won all 3 of them, and they go to where they've got a better actually goal difference than Brentford, so they'd go exactly where Brentford is. I'm
just having a look though. Where are we here? I mean, there's about 20 odd games to be played. You know, it's ridiculous. But Burnley have got. These are the games that Burnley have got in hand. They've got Spurs, Everton, Leicester. And I'm just moving down here. I think they've only got the 3 now, have they?
I don't know. I thought they had more.
Oh, no. Aston Villa. Okay. Sorry. Away to Villa and then home. And that might just be their saving grace that they are at home because they can nick points. But they can't be nicking points. They've got to be going for the 3 points. And you'd probably have to say away to Villa, they probably won't get anything. Possibly away to Spurs. At home to Spurs. You would think that Spurs would beat them. Everton, that's a 6-pointer. Let's just face it. They've got to win that. And they might even get, the season we're having, they could take us to a draw or even nick the 3 points. So they've got to be looking there. I think at the most, unfortunately, Burnley, and Dan, if you're watching, 6 points possibly.
Yeah, I actually see the most winnable game for them will be probably Everton with the form they're in.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is totally. Maisey, it has been a pleasure as always for you. It's been a pleasure for me having you on. And I think before you go, because I get just asked for this all the time, I'm going to have to do this again. We've done well. We've not had too many chaotic moments.
No, not at all. I've been very, very good today.
You have. You have. I mean, I've been impressed. Don't forget, guys, tomorrow at 7, we've got the Who Are You Peep Show, Snog, Marry, Avoid, and 69, believe it or not, football quiz. And then at 10 o'clock, we've got this. Some say he's arrogant, bigoted, opinionated, obnoxious, and prejudiced. All we know is he's called Blue Tinted Specs Fan, and he is coming to Leicester tomorrow night at 10 o'clock.
Let me look at your glasses.
Hang on, there we go.
Is that you?
I can honestly say it's not me. I will be interviewing the gentleman, and we've all got, at every club, we've all got fans that we know wear red-coloured spectacles, white-coloured spectacles, blue, whatever. And do you know what? We're going to give him a chance to vent himself, which is why we're doing it at 10 o'clock. We thought it might be easy, but I am getting ready for YouTube, not allowing me to monetize this video at all. So, that should be fun, though. It should be fun. I might get an odd word in, or maybe 3 words in the hour between the rants. I don't know. Niall says, Everton and Brentford need to be careful. I can see those 2 teams dragged into it. Looking at it in terms of league points. Big up, Maisey. You were brilliant. Make sure you smash the like and subscribe button and share the stream. And make sure you go and give Maisey, like I say, a subscribe. Tell us how people can find you again.
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Devils United, and my Twitter is at 2_MUFC Maze.
1 second.
Oh,
are you sure? Are you sure it's 2? Are you sure it's not just 1? I'm saying nothing. Make sure a link is in the a link to our YouTube is in the description below. Like I say, especially if you're into women's football, not just Man United, she covers all of the women's footballs, don't you? So get over there and give it a support. And like I say, sometimes it's better than watching the men's. We're not for Leicester. We're struggling a little bit with the ladies.
You're actually like second to bottom, so you're not doing too bad because you won the week when we won against Birmingham, so it helped.
It did. Thank you for that. We were drawing against Villa, I think it was at the weekend. But they nicked a goal towards the end. Surprise, surprise, with Leicester. I think it's only the bottom one goes down, so fingers crossed that Birmingham go down. Maisey, it's been amazing to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on. We're doing this once a month with you. Doug and Elton Wellesby, ex-TV presenter, will be doing it next. We haven't got one next week because there's no game next week. At least, hey, Dan, if you're watching, no game next week. At least Burnley can't lose. Every cloud, mate. Maisey, thank you so much. You take care, and I will obviously speak to you soon.
Bye.
Thank you, Maisey. Bye-bye. Do make sure, as I say, Devils United, TV on YouTube, and remember 2_ at Maisey on Twitter. Why the 2_? Women, I don't understand them. Thanks for watching. That was the weekend football roundup. See you tomorrow night at 7 for Niall versus Brad at the quiz, and at 10 o'clock for the blue tinted spectacles man. I'm going to have to wear me box, aren't I? Take care. Thanks for watching if you have been, and thanks for listening if you're listening to this on Catch Up On podcast. Stay safe, guys. See you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye, and see you next time.
That's all, folks.
Some people are on the pitch, they think it's all over. It is now.